Greetings. This is Peggy Miller, Highland Winds LLC. I'm a medical herbalist, and this is part 4 of the overview on medical herbalism. I had an intro where I kind of went into my qualifications, and now I'm doing the overview, which will be 5, possibly 6 parts, and each is 15 minutes long. I have touched already on yin and yang to quite an extent, and tridosha for Ayurvedic, because these are the fundamental building blocks, and balance is the goal. Your physical system, and I repeat this because each time I say it a little differently, and even as I've gone back over my own notes and my own literature on this to try to stress some of the key points, I basically learn something new each time. And with yin and yang and the tridosha, but with yin and yang in Chinese traditional herbalism, keep in mind the physical body. This is very key. You have your organs, but you have also all the moisture. If you were to cut your leg and see inside, you would see blood, you would see muscle, bone, but everything would be moist. Even the parts where you hadn't cut, where the bleeding wasn't occurring, that you could see, it would be moist. There would be moisture. Yin is the moisture that's throughout the body, that is underneath the skin, and it helps protect all of your organs. It helps move blood and move cells. It's key to your physical state. Yang is the heat, the movement, the activity, the work that goes into maintaining the energy and the output and all the functions of the cells. Cells do a lot of work. So yin and yang are very key to the balance. Now, last time in part 3, I was talking about yang excess, yang deficiency, and yin deficiency, and I was stressing these because these are sort of the main key elements one looks for if one gets a client and you're trying to determine what is off balance. Usually people go to a medical herbalist when they're unbalanced. Sometimes you get clients that are balanced and just want to learn more about maintaining it. And maintenance is key, and it's important, and it's very possible using herbs periodically, and it's a really good way to approach good health. But you do get off balance for a lot of reasons. Overwork, imbalances in your diet, your exercise regime, just overall how your physical system is responding to the world around it can create imbalances. Now, I had talked a fair amount about yang excess. I wanted to talk some about yang deficiency. And yang deficiency, it's often called empty yang, and its symptoms can be similar to yin excess. Yin excess is when there's too much mucus in the body, when there's not enough yang to burn up the yin excess, and so mucus builds up, and it can really make a person sluggish and cold, and it impacts the ability of the spleen, which needs to be dry in order to work well. So it keeps the spleen from working well if you have too much mucus. And mucus is different. Mucus occurs when there is yin excess, and you then get too much dampness, and then the dampness slowly shifts to the spleen not working well because it needs to be dry, and then you have a buildup of mucus, ligaments start to break down, and nosebleeds happen. Rosacea is a symptom of this. But empty yang is somewhat different. but has some similar symptoms. And empty yang is yang deficiency, where there's a lack of heat and activity to perform adequate functions in the body. Now, that's taken from Chinese Traditional Herbal Medicine, Volume 1. Empty yang is critical to making sure that you build yang. When a person is just empty yang, you might think they're yin excess, but the problem with empty yang is it can just be a combination of lack of energy, literally lack of qi. And when you lack enough qi, which can come from diet, but can come from your basic essence, you can be born with not enough yang, meaning you just don't have the genetically inherited and ability to draw qi from your food or to draw it from the earth. We draw energy from the earth, literally, up through our feet, through the qi channels, the qi, QI. I use the QI word for energy. The ability to draw up through our feet from the earth energy is always there. And a lot of medical herbalists will stress going without shoes sometimes. Walk in dirt. Walk barefoot where you can. Sometimes it stimulates the soles of the feet ability to draw energy in from the earth. And so qi is very important. If you don't have enough, then yang is not stimulated correctly, and there'll be a lot of fatigue, a lack of libido. Then it'll build to where the person will feel very cold. They will often have signs of edema. And this is an empty yang, and you have to build yang. And building yang and qi are the goals here. And so there you'd be encouraging more red meat and vegetables like carrots and herbs like ginseng and astragalus and dangi. And so what's important about this differentiation is determining what's going on, whether the person is empty yang or full yang. They'll be totally different. They'll be moving a lot, loud voice, very restless, a lot of hypertension at times. So full yang and empty yang are very, very different and require different herbs. But herbs, this is where you step in with, okay, we're going to recommend a change in diet. And you do the same with yin. If there's too much yin, you cut dairy. You cut raw salads for a time. You cut other yin things and increase yang. But you also provide herb formulas. I use them in a tea approach. And because I prefer using the dried herbs, but in their original state, pieces of root, leaves, flowers, whatever the part of the herb that's recommended to use for a certain goal. And your goal in forming an herbal formula will be a combination of things. I'm going to ignore that. I'm sorry for the interruption. I forgot to turn my phone off, and I'm not yet moving. At some point, I will move to a status of taking call-ins. I'm not sure when that's going to be. I'm studying how to do that. There, turned it off. In formulating the herbal formulas, you first figure out what you need to do. Do you need to build yin, build yang, clear heat, clear dampness? And in my training with Chinese traditional herbalism predominantly is the format for my herbal formula compilation because I like it. I'm just comfortable with it. It's very mathematical in its base, but there are certain herbs that are called conducting herbs that literally take the herbs and their use, whatever their action is, to the area you need. Like if you're clearing mucus, mucus can be not just nasal, but certain herbs go to the nose and the upper throat area more than others, like hyssop dries mucus in the nose and throat. Mullein dries it in the lungs if it's the type of mucus that is yellow and indicates heat. If it's cold and it's prevalent, Pinellia I include as well because it really helps to dry mucus in the lungs. It also helps to dry in the upper chest, and we store mucus in many areas of the body. And if mucus has built up in the chest, not just the lungs, but in the chest and around the heart, it can cause symptoms like anger and rage. It triggers different problems because it causes stagnation, which in turn then increases heat. So you can actually have too much mucus, which is from dampness, which is from yin excess, or sometimes empty yang, or the combination of the two. And you have to dry up that mucus and clear it. And the symptoms the person is going through, both physical and emotional, help you determine where and what you need to address. And then your herb formula helps to address those. And yes, you can do more than one thing at one time, but if there's an enormous amount of dampness or enormous amount of mucus and signs of real spleen key deficiency, say, and at the same time you can have an underlying problem of yin deficiency, which seems like it's counter to the dampness, but underlying problems can then create what is showing as the main problem. So you have to put the formula together to address the main problem that's showing, even if you suspect there's an underlying problem, because as you clear the dampness, for example, then the underlying initial cause will start to show up. The symptoms will change, and you'll realize, I had a hunch that was kidney deficiency also underneath, but it wasn't showing because the other problem of spleen key deficiency or overall yin excess with dampness and is just showing. It's showing more. And so as you clear up one, and what can show is heat. So you just clear heat. You clear empty heat, you clear full heat. There are different herbs to clear the heat. As you clear heat, you then can see underlying problems that are helping to create the situation of heat. And those can be everything from stagnation is a very big problem. And in this next part, I will get into stagnation, both blood stagnation and key stagnation, because they play a very big part in creating this overall way a person shows. And what are the things that lead to stagnation, and why you have to clear stagnation just like you have to clear heat first before you do much of the rebuilding. So I'll touch on those things in my next one. These are each 15 minutes long. I'm trying to stick to that. And so I will be working on the whole issues of stagnation and more on key and moisture. But energy is fundamental to this. You have a good day. This is Peggy Miller at Highland Winds LLC, highlandwindsgmail.com. Take care. Bye.